Hello, welcome, and thank you for attending the second webinar session on content orchestration for storytelling. My name is Philip Hendriks. I'm the product marketing manager at WoodWing for our products Enterprise, Aurora, and Inception. In this webinar, my role is to be the host and technical support. I would like to introduce today's speakers. Ross Paterson, CEO at WoodWing. Ross believes that content should be a competitive differentiator for brands and publishers alike. He will kick off this webinar by introducing our content value proposition, or content orchestration value proposition, and discuss common challenges around storytelling processes. Ross will be joined by our second speaker, Tom Pijsel, Senior Product Manager at WoodWing. Thomas Auer is one of our product experts and drivers for product development. He will show us how Elvis DAM and Enterprise Aurora can help you to orchestrate your storytelling. So enough from my side, and without further ado, I would like to hand over to our first speaker. Ross, the floor is yours.
Philip, thank you very much. This is Ross Paterson, and I guess good morning or good afternoon, depending where on this lovely earth you are at this moment. Yeah, I always enjoy talking about the market, enjoy talking about WoodWing's positioning. So happy to be here to kind of talk about the market, especially content orchestration for storytelling, specifically our value proposition. I get to do the easy part, just to talk about our vision and our positioning. And then Tom backs me up from a product perspective and a technology perspective to show on a product level how we deal with some of the stuff that I'll be talking about. So let's jump straight into it. And this, I guess, I will not spend too much time on this, but it's good to just sometimes take a hold, look at the environment and the society that we live in. So for instance, last night I was on the couch with my wife, and while I was actually preparing this webinar and my agenda of today, my wife was searching on her phone to kind of new holiday addresses for us to spend our holiday time this summer. And after that, I think she even went in to see whether she could still grab some of the discounts in sales to buy clothes for our children. And eventually, when we actually went to bed, she switched on you know, these audiobooks, and there's this app called Storytelling app, and she switched on one of these audiobooks to listen to while she was falling asleep. And then that makes me kind of laugh inside, because that's how you kind of look at society and see how that's changing. And also for me as the CEO of WoodWing, it's just so evident how much time consumers spend on consuming content through all kind of mobile devices. And then for me to come to think of it, all these clothing companies and the e-tailers that need to make sure that, let's say, their products are represented well and on all these different websites, to me, that's, I think, an enormous challenge to a lot of these customers. And I think in that sense, to get to the point that Philip just talked about, I am a true believer that the way in which companies, right, whether you're a traditional publisher or a media company, or whether you operate as a brand, right, if you're able to control your content workflow and your content processes, I believe that is a true critical competitive differentiator for these companies. And I think that will only increase over time. So I'm a big believer of yeah, you see some of these business processes that operate within businesses nowadays, right? Whether it's your marketing processes or all of the finance processes, sales processes. I believe content and especially the content creation and management, that workflow around content will become such one of those business processes that become as important. And it's not strange, right? Because as I've just talked about consumer behavior, how that is kind of moving into all these consuming content on all these different devices. If you then think of that, what that does to businesses, there's an enormous opportunity, right, to engage with your community. So I think this is what especially the marketing departments of the larger brands have discovered, right? The power of storytelling. And the way you want to influence behavior, and the best way to do that is to tell engaging stories. And of course, the creation of these stories and thinking of what is the right story that I want to influence my community with, that is something that we as WoodWing do not do, right? But we do want to play a very important role in helping the customers to organize their content and make sure that the storytelling that they do it in such a way that the content that they use can be that they prepare can be used for any channel, that it can be easily refound, but also that allows you to collaborate on content, because great stories are not created by an individual, they're actually created by a team of people. So where we specifically want to play in this area is to ensure that our consumers get access to technology to help them to arrange and orchestrate their content workflow. So that's the important part that we have to play in helping our customers get these amazing stories out to their communities. And again, that could be for publishers to kind of create great stories for their communities, but that can also very well be for marketing teams of bigger brands creating amazing stories. And like I suggested earlier, right, to me it's also amazing if you're a owner of a product and you really need to make sure that if my wife starts kind of Googling for a certain brand, right, that she gets the similar brand across different platforms. And I think that's quite a hard task for a lot of our customers to do. So also through content, you have to make sure it's consistent along the whole customer journey, right? So that's a big task to address to. Then the last point on this slide, right? So I think there's an enormous opportunity, and the power of content is quite obvious, but the amount of content that is created by kind of anyone on this globe is enormous. So that brings challenges with itself, right? So to be able to manage that appropriately, to get sign off, to be legally compliant, to comply to brand guidelines, it is quite a tough job to do. So it's not uncommon that when we engage with a prospect or with some of our customers, that we come across what we call the content spaghetti, right? And this is just companies processing and dealing with so many content that is thrown at them that it's just very hard to maintain that consistency. So let's elaborate a little bit on this content spaghetti phenomenon, as I feel quite strong about this, because if you come to think of it, it's not strange that companies are struggling. So let's kind of touch upon the 4 dimensions that you see on this slide. First of all, a lot of our customers, whether it's traditional publishers or brands, still use a lot of external stakeholders, right? Whether they're designers, copywriters, or language service providers, right? That take your native language and translate it into all these different languages, and that gets then thrown back at them, right? So as a company, you need to deal with all these photos, assets, pieces of text and content that comes in, which you need to manage. So that by itself is a struggle. Then come to think of all the hard work that probably the CIO's office has put in maintaining one version of a truth in some of the data and content that they already have, right? So think about enterprise resource planning systems, ERP systems, or product information management systems, right? Where they are very protective of keeping the single version of the truth around all the product information in that particular system. Now, if you then want to go on and create a marketing brochure out of some of that content, you just want to make sure that they reuse the content that has been checked, instead of people retyping that content and possibly making mistakes, right? So again, a lot of our customers have to deal with all the content that already exists within the company. And then, I mean, nowadays, especially here in Europe, but I'm sure you guys in the USA get this as well, there's a lot of legal compliance around content, right? Whether it's privacy laws, GDPR, which is very important part of the business to manage for our customers as well, right? Think about all the digital assets, all the right management to all the digital assets that are being used, that need to comply to the agreement that you have with them. But also it could be kind of the CMO office that has strong brand guidelines that you need to adhere to, right? So there's a lot of internal stakeholders that have interest in the content as well. So you need to make sure as a company that you don't only deal with all the content that's coming in that is existing within the company, but you also need to get all the right approvals at the right times in your content workflow. And then lastly, but certainly not the least one, is there are also new channels popping up, right? So the other day I was in conversation with one of our customers that actually wants to make an investment to be able to publish to Apple News. They fairly stated that the only reason that they would want to make an investment to publish, to kind of enrich their content, is that it's not only published to Apple News Plus, right? But it's also they're also able to publish that enriched content to other channels. So it's very important as a company or as a customer, if you make a certain investment on your content, that you at least be able to kind of make a return on that content by pushing it to any channel and not making investments to a specific channel. So yeah, then come to think of it, dealing with these four dynamics can make it quite a spaghetti that you're dealing with. And just to be very specific on this, kind of the pains that come out of content spaghetti is the lost time to market, right? So eventually people get approvals through sending stuff by emails, but it just takes so long. It probably takes too long, right? And that has a damaging effect on revenue, but also assets that get lost that have been paid in the past, content that cannot be found and in that way cannot be reused. And also to think of the consistency, right? I mean, it's very damaging to your brand, right? And when you're, whether you're a magazine brand or whether you're a consumer brand, if you're lost in consistency, that will harm your image, and that is, of course, also will harm the financial side of your business. So it's kind of the impact that the consequences of content spaghetti can be pretty significant. So basically, what we're seeing here is some of these content challenges. I like the kind of this phrase from the CEO of Red Bull, right, that say brands need to take the phrase acting like a publisher literally. So of course I'm very thankful WoodWing, kind of born and raised in the whole publishing industry. That's where our technology has evolved over the past 20 years. So I'm happy and fortunate that we have been working for a industry to whom content has been strategic from the start, right? So our technology is pretty much up to par, kind of dealing with content workflows, collaboration on content, workflow on top of it, the management, the metadata tagging of content. So we feel that we have a very significant credibility to, of course, our publishing customers, but also to a lot of the brands that are becoming more like a traditional publisher. So it's very interesting at this point to be the CEO of WoodWing and to lead WoodWing also in this current market space in which the importance of content is only increasing. So content orchestration, nice story, Ross. What do you exactly mean with it? This is the definition that we use, right? It's a state in which tools are seamlessly integrated, working with one another, combined with strong workflow management, training, and organization. So let me state by the start, right? Content orchestration is not just about WoodWing technology, right? It's about having a platform that allows you to interact any type of technology with it. Because the content that a lot of our customers have are not just in WoodWing technology, they live in other technologies as well. So it's very important for us to deliver upon the content orchestration value proposition to be able to interface pretty easy. So through open APIs and also WoodWing as a philosophy from the start has had a very open mind. We really want to be the best of breed technology, but we really acknowledge a lot of the other technology out there that our customers have to deal with. So a close kind of integrated platform is a very important part of our value proposition. Then next, I'm a strong believer that you're going to need technology to guide you through the workflow, right? People need to be involved in the workflow at the right time, right? So there's no point in in adding people from the legal department in a workflow where they have nothing to do yet. So to have technology guide you through the workflow, but also allow external contributors to work on the same platform in your workflow, I think is a very important part, and especially with some of the recent customers coming on board, this is certainly a first big value to them, right? To simply organize the whole content workflow. And then lastly, we talk about training and organization. Of course, this is about training on the WoodWing technology, which we do ourselves, but also together with our partners play an important role here as well. I mean, this is even a little bit further, right? This is also kind of training staff that works on the content workflow, what a content workflow is about. So this is much larger than just WoodWing training. So this is how we define content orchestration, and where we as WoodWing, with our content orchestration platform that Tom will demonstrate later, is a very important part of our value proposition. And just to make sure that all the people in this webinar that have known WoodWing a little bit longer, the content orchestration platform consists of two main technologies. It's our enterprise technology and our digital asset management technology. So kind of moving on to the next slide is how we as WoodWing internally talk about the future, right? We are coming from let's say the past, in where we have enterprise, which is our kind of editorial system, right? And we have Elvis, which is our digital asset management system. Over the past couple of years, we have already been integrating these two products to a certain extent. But moving forward and also drawing up our roadmap for the future, I want to move away from two separate products, but to go into a platform that has rich content creation capabilities, which obviously refers to the editorial system, and that has a kind of seamless content management module sit at the heart, right, from which you can drag and drop assets, but which you can also manage all the digital rights from your assets. And to have these two systems closely interacting, I think is a very big benefit to our customers. So really, I want to help, and this is our value proposition, right, to help our customers organize their content spaghetti. And we organize that through workflow. We organize that through delivering the ability to create or edit content that already exists. We deliver that through a very rich API that allows you to kind of hook any technology onto our content orchestration platform, so you can include that content in the workflow. We deliver that by also delivering kind of the digital asset management capabilities that allows you to find content easily, that allows you to reuse content seamlessly. And to me, it's so important that a digital asset management sits to support a business process. So we truly believe in the management module of the content orchestration, that we are creating a digital asset management tool that truly facilitates the content workflow, right? So that's the business process that it should support. And that is, of course, for traditional publishers, something we are already doing, and also that some of our brand customers value in us as well. So yeah, our value proposition is to get at that heart of the content value chain and help our customers to organize their content workflows. So here, and again, to the people that are familiar, if you look at this slide, create module, as we would call it in the future, certainly refers to enterprise at this point in time. Manage is the Elvis DAM solution that we have. So over time, you would notice that we as WoodWing will be using these names more often instead of the separate product names, but that is something for the future. So I believe what we need to orchestrate content and allow our customers to do storytelling, and support that storytelling process is through an editor, which refers to the create part, and of course here our kind of workflow technology that we have evolved by working with some of the best publishers in the world. We believe that these workflow capabilities are very important to any company that has to deal with vast amount of content. And also we use artificial intelligence to improve and help the effectiveness of content. And of course, also here, we still have room for improvement, right? So especially the digital content creation is something that we can improve the WoodWing technology suite in, but also thinking of content as a service, kind of headless CMS is certainly an area that we feel we can enrich the platform with in the future. So also this allows our thinking. We have a broader perspective on the market, I believe, by positioning it as a content orchestration platform rather than an editorial system and a DAM. And because we're now also from a kind of our innovation part of our organization are looking at new technologies that we can help to eventually help our customers get to a smoother content workflow. So I'll manage. I think a very important part here is the metadata, and to make all the content that you store in your whole content business process and your content workflow, content that is easily findable and also reusable. So of course, actually, metadata is very important there, and also combining, let's say, the human eye and the human brains with artificial intelligence. So there, again, we're not developing artificial intelligence ourselves, but really interfacing with the best artificial intelligent technology companies out there, so that customers can benefit from all the great content that is out there instead of us developing everything. And then eventually the distribute part, right? So that also refers to all the channels that keep popping up, and whether newsstands or new distribution channels, it's really important that our customers are assured that working with WoodWing, that any new channel that comes out there, they are able to publish it to that new channel. So before I kind of hand over to Tom, I think it's always nice to talk about a specific customer case to also illustrate our value proposition. So for Yamaha, together with our partner Graphit here in Netherlands, we orchestrate the marketing content over 26 countries. Just so briefly on Yamaha, what was their problem? Basically, whenever they did a new kind of release of their motorcycles or motors, they wanted to bring out a new sales and marketing brochure around that. It always was quite a complex and time-consuming process, and it's pretty logical, right? If you have to go to 26 countries with different languages here in Europe as well. So to get sign-off from Japan, sign-off from the European headquarters, it just basically took too long. So together with Graphit, we went in, we implemented Enterprise and Elvis. So where we are today is that in the European head office, the sales and marketing brochure gets created, also using information from the product information management system, right? So all the product information around the motors is reused, is not retyped. They create a English master template. When they get sign off on that from Japan, it automatically gets translated into 26 languages, 26 varieties of the content is created. That then gets distributed over to all the local offices. The local offices has the opportunity then to still edit the content to kind of make the translation even more perfect, or also to use language that is better suited for their target audience in their local country. But they also allow can choose from different photos that have been shot. They have all been pre-approved, so there's just a selection that they can go into Elvis and look at pre-approved images and select one that they feel fits their environment best. That then, when that is done, it gets automatically through the workflow. There's a notice to the European head office. They sign off, and there you go, right? So you're live in 26 languages. So I think the power of workflow, the power of the combination of the content creation capabilities and having a digital asset management sit really close to that, I think in this case proves kind of the value proposition that we have. So basically, what were the benefits that the customer derived from this? It was a shorter time to market, in that sense a much smoother process. They were unwilling to share what the Financial impact was because, of course, when you hit a time to market sooner, there's always also a revenue impact. The fact that they won't disclose that, I think, is a good thing, because it means that they have a very positive impact on their revenue. So I'm really happy with a happy customer, but also for us that we are kind of showing how our technology is relevant for end publishers, but also certainly for marketing departments and for brands. So having said all of that, I know it was a kind of mouthful. I'm really looking forward to any questions that you may have. For now, I will hand over to Tom. But again, if there are any questions, I will make sure that I get them all answered for you. Thanks for listening. That's it for me. Hand over to Tom.
Thank you, Ross. And let's dive into the demo. Yeah, so as Ross already explained, we're going to demo our content orchestration platform. And within the platform, we have two main modules or applications. One is Elvis. This is the digital asset management system, which is your content backbone. And the other one is Enterprise, which is your content production system. So when you look into Orchestration, which is the front-end application for Enterprise, you have direct access to all the material or all the stories that you and your team are working on. So here we see the stories. Today we're going to work for a title called Beauty and Fit, which is a lifestyle title. And we're also going to use content from our Freshness and Bite title, which is a food title. So both magazines have a website. They also have a magazine, which looks like this. So here you have access to the current issue or the next issue that's being created. And if you open a so-called dossier, you have direct access to all the material for this story. So in this case, you see the images, a digital and a print variant of the story. But when you work in a workflow system like Enterprise, there is no need to search for things to work on. This is all available in the inbox. So here we see the story that I need to work on today. So I've been asked to review this story. So let's have a look. So what is important that this is a content first workflow. So in this case, you start out with structured content, which you can easily publish to digital and print publications. What is important to realize that structured content, although it's very important from a technical point of view, as a writer, you do not want to worry about structure. You just want to create content, and that's very easy to do using our component model. So here you can add a component, so let's say a nice subtitle, and the only thing that you have to worry about is actually creating the content. We take care of the structure. Please keep in mind that this component model is freely customizable, so you can adapt it to your content where needed. Let's remove this one. Let's say that we want to insert an additional image here. Here on the side, I have access to all the images which are already selected before, but I would like to use an additional image. And for that, I'm going to reach out to Elvis. In Elvis, I have all my images which are either coming from external photographers, they could be coming from wire feeds, or they are part of my archive. Let me give you some examples. So this is an example of how to work with an external photographer. So this is a collection, and this collection, I shared this with my photographer. So go to the share link, and we open the share link. So this is what actually the front end for the photographer. They just receive a link, they can click on the link. No need to type in any username and password, they can directly upload all the material and send it back to me. Every asset or image in Elvis has a lot of metadata attached to it. By default, more than 400 fields, and you can use those fields to search on any material that you like. And so let's search on first. Let's search on taxi. So this is the so-called masonry view. We can also have a thumbnail view or a list view, depending on your preferences. So if we look at those images, you see those icons here at the bottom. You should actually see that this image is copyright protected, and actually this one we already used it before, so maybe this is not the best image to use today. What is good to note is that any image that flows into my Elvis is automatically tagged by artificial intelligence. So this allows me to easily find the images back. And this is also very valuable to unlock the potential of your archive, because quite often images are not tagged. This is a cumbersome process that you would like to have automated. So let's search for another image. Let's search for coffee. So here we go. I think I like this one. You can have a look at the preview. Yeah, this is one that I like. So I can now drag this image and add it to my story. So what happens now also is that the caption and the credit of this image, which are part of the metadata of the image, are taken over into my story. So I do not have to create that myself. If we look at the story properties or the image properties, we see that actually this image doesn't fit so nicely on a phone. And what you see in legacy web CMSs is that you typically need to create 10-15 different kinds of crops for any particular image. We solve this in a different fashion. You can just select the most interesting part of the image, and automatically the system takes care that that now the copy marker is always in place. Of course, you can also crop the image where needed. We'll do that now, so this is fine. And so we scroll down a little bit. And actually, I would like to spice up my story with a cookie recipe. And the recipes are created by my Freshness and Bite brand. So let's search for cookie. And here I find a story which has been created and published before. Please have a look at the look and feel of this story. So this is the look and feel of my Freshness and Bite magazine. And as Ross explained, brand consistency is very important. And that's actually, as an editor, I do not have to worry about this, because when I add this content to my story, automatically the look and feel of my Beauty and Fit title is used. When I'm happy with the story, I can preview the story. So this is how it would look like on the various devices, horizontally, vertically. And when I'm done, I can publish this story to my web CMS. In this case, I use a headless web CMS, but it could be any web CMS, can be attached to Enterprise. So here we have the story that we've just created, and it should have been updated. So here we see the subtitle that we created, the nice coffee mug, and somewhere here below we should see the cookie recipe. Other options to further integrate your workflow is, for example, by integrating with the comment section of your web CMS. So like this, the editor has direct access to all the comments which are generated by the readers. And also a very interesting part is search engine optimization. So you can hook into your favorite search engine optimization and directly edit that or get those that feedback within Content Station. One interesting thing is that also here you can benefit from AI technology. So this is a response from Embrace. They do emotional analysis on the headline. So this is actually the response of the reader. So you know that upfront before you publish the story. But now, if we go back to my article, you see that the images have been added, that have been selected, and now I would like to reuse this content in print. Let me first create a print variant, and then explain you why you need to create a variant of this story. That's because you need to do channel-specific changes to the or print-specific changes to the content. Think, for example, of copy fitting. You might need to adapt the story to the page. Other example is in your digital variant, you used a slideshow with 5 images, each a separate caption. In print, you might only use 2 of the 5 images with a shared caption. And lastly, the title is often different because different rules apply because of SEO, for example. So here we see the story that's been created. Hide the status overview. So here, for example, see that the side story is also automatically placed in a separate in a separate frame. And from here we can also make changes directly into the article. So here on the left we have the text of the article. On the right we see the preview, and we can make changes to this text. Change this into an ampersand, and you see that the preview is being updated on the fly. Also, you notice that this red bar. So this shows that that there is actually overset. So we can scroll down. You can actually exactly see what fits on the page and what doesn't. Also, you have access to all the print paragraph styles and character styles. You have access to the glyphs and to the print-specific spaces. So here we see the page, and actually we see the two images being used. If you like, you can also place additional images and crop them here on the fly. For example, change the crop of this image a little bit like this, for example. But you can already do this as an editor and don't need InDesign to make those changes. So let's go back to the dossier. And actually with just a few minutes of work, we produced a story for both. So from our content first story, we produced a digital story, published this to our website, and we created a print variant of the story. And you can also watch this side by side. So that looks like this. So here we see the both stories. We see the status, for example. So this one is done. This one is still in draft. And this is also a big time saver, so which helps you with your content spaghetti. So you have a direct overview where you are in the process. We saw the inbox, so using routing, you have direct access to all the material that you need to work on. What we saw was a consistent look and feel. Also, if you reuse content from other sources. And I showed you a seamless flow, so very easy flow to work with images, reuse images from your archive, reuse or use images sent in by an external photographer, and a very easy way to manage and ensure the copyright management.
Yeah, thank you to all the attendees of this webinar. Thank you very much for spending your time with us. And I hope we can welcome you in one of our upcoming webinars again. On behalf of WoodWing team, Ross and Tom, I wish you a very pleasant day. Goodbye for now. Bye-bye.